Early African civilizations, the impact of the salt trade. Medieval Timbuktu was a center for learning and trade. How did the salt trade influence the rise of this African capital? This is salt. It's commonplace today, but for centuries, its value helped create trade routes across the African continent. In West Africa, 3 empires grew rich and powerful by controlling the trans-Saharan trade routes. First Ghana, then Mali, and finally Songhai. Arab traders from the Middle East and Mediterranean came to Africa for the riches to be found there: gold, ivory, and salt, as well as slaves. But to obtain these goods required crossing the Sahara. This desert is one of the hottest places on Earth. Temperatures here have reached as high as 136 degrees Fahrenheit. It was not until the introduction of the camel that it was possible to cross the Sahara. Berber tribes such as the Tuareg profited from the trade routes, leading caravans of thousands of camels across the desert. One Tuareg outpost grew into a city famous for its wealth and scholars: Timbuktu. Located on the Niger River, Timbuktu was established in the 11th century. Over the next several hundred years, it grew into an important trade city. Timbuktu was eventually controlled by the Empire of Mali. Under the patronage of the Emperor Mansa Musa, the city blossomed. He built mosques, libraries, and universities, attracting scholars and artists to the city. At its peak, Timbuktu's universities taught up to 25,000 students. Its libraries held the largest collection of books south of the Sahara. For 300 years, it was one of the most important cultural centers of the Islamic world. By the time Timbuktu had become part of the Songhai Empire, tales of its wealth had spread as far as Europe. Soon, Europeans began to explore West Africa in search of riches. But the Songhai Empire soon lost control of the desert trade routes. Its power began to diminish. By the time the Songhai Empire fell in the 1600s, Timbuktu was nearly deserted. No one crosses the Sahara anymore to trade in ivory or gold or slaves. But there is still one thing that drives people across the desert sands: salt. In Mauritania, Mali, and Niger, briny pools like these are all that remain of a long-vanished saltwater lake. Here in the town of Bilma, Niger, salt is still harvested the way it has been for centuries. Caravans of camels still cross the desert, and the Tuareg nomads still trade with towns along the desert's edge, as their ancestors have done for centuries. They have adapted to modern life. Caravans no longer have thousands of camels. This one has 150. With smaller caravans come smaller profits. Some Tuareg have had to become farmers to make ends meet. Then there's the issue of motor vehicles. Rival tribes driving trucks can cross the desert faster and carry more cargo than a camel caravan. Yet despite these difficulties, the Tuareg way of life continues basically the same as it has for centuries, when empires rose and fell on the fortunes of salt.